and welcome to Undercurrent, Western Australia's current affairs program. I'm your host, Lucy Nichol. MP Elaine Evangeli, the City of Perth and the Salvation Army have been meeting to find a solution to the problem of beggars in the Perth CBD. One of the options on the table is to criminalise the act of begging, as is the case in other states within Australia. But would this really solve the problem? Laura Novo finds out.
We normally ignore them when we pass by on the streets, but beggars have become a real problem in Perth CBD. With the number of people asking for money on the streets growing every year, there is still yet to find a real way to help this segment of the population.
Around the Perth CBD, it really fluctuates quite a lot. So we did a report into this a few weeks ago, and what we found was just over 40 people over a 4-week period. So, we're not talking huge amounts of people. But at the same time, we have seen this steadily increase anecdotally. So, it is really concerning. And now it's actually about what we can reasonably do to support these people.
Well, the issue here is about the number of homeless people in Perth and in Western Australia. We know that's a growing problem, and we know that they need support services. There's not enough accommodation or support services for homeless people in Perth. Then, of course, that's leading to people begging, and some of those issues are slightly different from the broader homelessness problem.
There are some businesses around Perth that they are actually considering shutting down because having these beggars around is impacting on them negatively.
The mechanisms which these business people are using to push this agenda that they may need to shut down, and that is incredibly concerning from a number of points of view, is that they're using the media to do something about this. The reality is that unfortunately publications and TV shows like yours don't actually have the impact on the policymakers. If you really are concerned about shutting down your business, go to the Chamber of Commerce, go to a state government, and really have that hard conversation there and say these are the sort of issues that we're facing, and then there's actually going to be an easier way for people to really communicate and actually try and solve this sort of issue, rather than saying we're going to shut down our business and isn't that bad. Yes, that's bad. How are we going to get past that?
There are voices which say that in Perth there are two kinds of beggars, genuine beggars, and then beggar mafia of young people getting money from the passerbys. Is that true?
Certainly I've heard that suggested. There certainly does seem to be some organisation, and I've seen media reports of organisation of some people that are trying to beg for money on the streets. The fact is that if that is in fact happening, that is not good, and it does reflect then on people's perception of homeless people.
I can honestly say that I know most of the homeless of the inner city of Perth. I've spent 2 decades working with people on the streets. I've never seen a beggar or a person who's begging for a little bit of assistance, a little bit of humanity, that sliver of human dignity from some, to have not been a person who is utterly impoverished, who in general is homeless.
2 weeks ago, the City of Perth and the Salvation Army had a meeting to try to solve this problem, and one of the options on the table was criminalising begging in other states in Australia. Do you think that is the right approach to this problem?
Begging is outlawed, for a lack of better words, in every state except for New South Wales and Western Australia. The reality is that the way that it operates in other states is that it doesn't eliminate begging at all. It's almost a fallacy in its own way. I've recently been in Sydney and Brisbane. There's been lots of beggars there as well. It's an issue that we're all struggling with around the country.
In general, most jurisdictions, begging can be criminalised due to vagrancy laws and trespass laws and so forth, but it is not criminalised to the extent that begging in itself is actually a crime. In Queensland, it is. And I know that there have been moves here in Western Australia to do likewise. But if they want to pick up a person who's begging, they can pick him up on trespass, they can pick him up on not having a permit, because they're constituted, or could be constituted as a busker, and they could be picked up for vagrancy. Well, these are laws that are draconian. We should not be looking at actually enabling more laws upon them and redefining these laws to actually wipe out begging altogether. What are these people supposed to do? Where are they supposed to go? And what are we trying to lead some of them into? We trying to lead the poor into crime, into low-level offending, into poverty-related crimes? Well, we don't want that.
What we should be doing is investing in services and support. We need to make sure we have enough accommodation. We need to make sure that we have homelessness support services and that other community services and emergency relief services are available. The other issue then is the issue that sometimes comes up with people taking advantage of both homeless people and of the situation to in fact beg as well, and I know that's an issue. But you don't solve that by criminalising the issue and basically demonising people that are homeless.
When we speak with homeless people and those who are begging, it's very simple sort of requests. They want a bed, they want food, they want somewhere safe. These aren't hard requests and they really shouldn't be difficult in somewhere like Perth. So what we're really looking for is to try and see a bit of a change there so we can really engage and support these people out of this really dire situation.
The homeless who beg, should be assisted. They're not an eyesore, should not be considered as such. And, we got to spread the love a little bit back or whatever, and we don't. We do not. The general kindness of probably 1 in every 50 people walking by will drop them a coin. It'd be really fantastic if more people did, considering the fact that our governments, state and federal, and even our local government authorities do not substantively or in any way substantively respond to assisting those with their daily needs.
Unfortunately, there is not a simple answer for this problem. Laura Noble reporting for Undercurrent.
Next on Undercurrent, Juanita hits the streets of Perth to find the best New Year's resolutions for 2016.
The New Year is coming, and I would like to ask the people of Perth about what their New Year's resolutions are for 2016. What are your New Year resolutions for 2016?
I don't really have any, really.
Probably just to make more friends and be a cool bean.
I've only got one really, and that's to... No, I've got two. One is to pray more, and the second one is to be conscious of what I eat.
I think the resolution I want to make is go to the gym to reduce my stomach, and I want to quit smoking. So 2 things are very hard for me because I'm very lazy. So that would be my 2 main items I want to quit.
Probably to exercise more and can get better at my studies.
What are your New Year resolutions for the country?
New Year resolution for the country is to have a government that works for our favour.
Probably to, just be safe and...
I don't know, I haven't really thought about it.
I just want everyone to be safe, be cool beans.
This country, okay, I'm from India, so this country, I'm not too sure. But this country, I guess, I would also want to help people quit smoking because it's something really bad. And there's a lot of people, especially in Central Perth, I would want to help people quit smoking because it causes cancer. Since I'm a smoker for 4 years, I think if I could help people stop smoking, that would make me also happy, so yeah.
What would you like to see happening around the world in 2016?
I'd like to see more being done about climate change and probably more being done about homelessness in all the countries and stuff, and just more being done about people starving around the world and stuff like that.
Peace. I don't think it's going to happen, but I think it would be lovely if people and countries were at peace with each other instead of being greedy.
No more wars. That'd be pretty good.
I think just, reduce poverty and, save people from the homeless. Like, you see so many people lying on the streets. Like, if all the restaurants, they have so much of food that goes for wastage. If we could actually, find a way which we can, distribute the waste food to people on the streets, I think that would be great also. So.
Probably peace. There's been a lot of violence towards the end of 2015, so sort that out, I guess.
It seems that Australians are hoping for a better year in terms of health and peace around the world. Have a happy new year. I'm Renita reporting for Undercurrent.
Moggies over doggies, who would have thought? But with a little bit of community support, Subiaco is about to get Western Australia's very first cat cafe. Laura Novo has the shape of the cat's whiskers.
They started in Taipei in 1998, but they took off in Japan. I am talking about cat cafes. And here in Australia, we have been enjoying the furry company of cats with our lattes since 2014, when the first cat cafe opened in Melbourne. But now it's Perth's turn. Where this interest for a cat cafe came from?
Well, both of us are animal lovers, specifically cat lovers, and we love making people happy as well. So you mix the two together and you get a cat cafe. Like, as a social enterprise, we have a responsibility to rescue cats now and to make people happy. So, as I said, combine the two and you get a cat cafe. We've always had crazy ideas. We're big daydreamers and we've always wanted to do something fantastic with our lives, and this is just one of the things that we're doing in our lives at the moment. Brought the idea to fruition it's coming up on a year now. Everybody just jumped behind us with support, and we went and visited other cat cafes to make sure that they were sustainable and viable, and they were fantastic. So we thought, why not Perth? Let's do it.
You guys are pretty young. Where did you get the money to go ahead with this project?
So there's been a lot of funding channels. There's obviously the crowdfunding campaign, which is extremely helpful, but then there's also friends and family and our own personal loans that we've taken out with the bank as well. So we're really backing ourselves to this.
What have been the biggest challenges you have been facing to get this project to a conclusion?
So there's been a few challenges really, but the biggest one was getting people to understand the concept that it's not just about cats being there. Some people thought they were bringing their own cats, all these sorts of things.
How this project has been received by the neighbouring businesses in Rockyville Road, which is the place where you will have your cat cafe, hopefully.
So it's a bit of a mix at the moment. Our next door neighbour Rod Smales, who's been there for 30 years, he loves it. He loves us and he loves the idea. And then there's a few other people on the street who don't fully understand the concept, but once they realise that we're bringing hopefully 16,000 new customers to Rockaby Road, I think they'll be excited.
You mentioned something very interesting, is that the concept of a cat cafe wasn't very well understood from the very beginning. Some people thought that they could bring their own cat. So now it's your time for you to explain us how this cat cafe works.
Okay, so it's pretty simple. We rescue about 10 cats from euthanasia from our partners at Cat Haven. They live on premises in their own shelter. They can then move from the shelter into the cat lounge, but the cat lounge itself is separated by a floor-to-ceiling glass divider and 2 double doors that stop you from getting into the cafe. So that all food is separate. Food is made off-site. We don't do any food preparation on-site, so just coffee and cake.
Terps, and where do you get your cats from?
We're getting them from our partner Cat Haven and maybe some other smaller shelters associated with Cat Haven. We're still to discuss that when we come around to the actual fruition of the opening. And they've been so supportive with everything that we've done. Like, as soon as we brought them the idea, they were so excited because, of course, it brings to attention how important it is to think about adopting cats rather than buying them from stores, because the adopted cats are the best ones. They're always looking for love and they're just so affectionate. You walk into their shelters there and they all push up against the glass and purr. They're beautiful cats.
We've met all of the criteria for the health department, obviously. We're dealing in heritage buildings, so there's things we need to be concerned with there, but we've been speaking with a lot of consultants and a lot of people helping us to make sure we're going with the right moves, and we've been going above and beyond with things like health and safety with our glass dividing walls and our double doors, so everyone's going to be safe, and the safety and the happiness of our cats, our visitors and our staff is our primary responsibility.
When do you think that this will happen? Can you give us an approximate date?
That's the $1,000,000 question, I'm afraid. We need to know what the council think first, and then after that hopefully we'll move forward from there, but let's go with early 2016.
Well, we wish you the best of luck, and I will be the first customer there. Hopefully we can see you open our first cat cafe in Perth. Laura Novo reporting for Undercurrent.
Now it's time for a quick break to hear from our sponsors. We'll be back shortly with more Undercurrent. I pay tax, you pay tax. but it seems a lot of the biggest companies operating within Australia have found legal ways to not pay tax. Jack Middleton investigates.
Hello, I'm Jack Middleton. So this week, and for the final week for this year, I'm going to be talking to you about taxes. Now that might sound really boring, almost just as boring as the opening crawl to Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. Galactic Empire, something, 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 taxes, trade routes, why are you so boring? But as the saying goes, there's two things that you can't avoid in life, and that's death and taxes. Well, some have found out how to avoid one of them, and it's taxes. And they are big businesses. So if you conquered both, you're probably some kind of CEO Highlander or a successful Voldemort that owns an international coffee chain. Investigations by the Australian Taxation Office found that of the 1,539 companies they investigated, 579 of those companies that operated within Australia did not pay taxes to this country. When a company does that, they exploit the skills of the people from this country, and they exploit the economic prosperity which allows them to turn the profits that they do. An average income of $80,000 a year, you'll end up paying about $17,000 tax. And $17,000 was the highest amount of tax paid by these companies on the transparency list. Lexmark International itself had a taxable income of $126,000 and earnings of $101 million. And that was the highest taxpayer on the list. The worst offender and the highest earner and payer of $0 in tax to Australia was Qantas Airways Limited, with $15 billion of income that year. Do you still call Australia home, Qantas? And if you do, won't you think of the children? Won't someone please think of the children? So, if you paid $277 in tax, you've already paid more than Goldman & Sachs. If you paid $87 tax, the lowest amount possible, you've already paid more than 580 multi-million-dollar corporations that operate within Australia. To clamp down on these 1%ers, visit this address, sign the petition, learn more about tax dodging. Now, here are some of the slippery and dodgy ways that these companies avoid tax. Their taxable income may be zero because of adjustments like laws and deductions and losses carried over from previous years. They can credit for foreign taxes paid. They can also offset tax by franking credits, which is basically giving the money back to the already filthy rich shareholders of the company. It just further reinforces the truism that the more money you have, the more easier it is to make more money. Google and Amazon and Starbucks are some of the biggest international offenders of tax dodging. Starbucks gave nothing back, nothing in tax, to fund the training of the baristas, the business people, the economic prosperity to actually afford coffee. They did not contribute to that whatsoever.
The government can end this injustice with a simple MAT tax applied on multinational corporation revenue that permanently closes all tax avoidance loopholes. This will bring in billions of new tax revenue, save jobs, and enhance our national services. Join the campaign at crowdcrusader.com, the world's first crowd action platform.
It's just a faceless corporation. There's no tailors, there's no bakers, there's no freaking candlestick makers, there's no trained specialists, very rarely in countries like America and England and Australia. We don't do our own stuff. We outsource it to China. It's only since the invention of aircrafts that we've been able to utilise the whole world into one big factory. It's odd. When you stop and think about it for a second, it's very strange that we're not skilled in funding ourselves. We rely on big corporations. We rely on them. They offer us a service, and we need that service because humankind is just naturally attracted to what is quick and easy. That is what they want. It's what people want, and it's what these big companies provide. And as long as that structure still remains, it will always flow. What we need is to sort of break that up and start learning ourselves and thinking for ourselves. Starbucks tried to come to Australia, but they failed because we've already got such a strong coffee culture as it is. We've got to start making our own stuff and thinking more independently. Clamp down on the 1%, stop them turning a profit off our backs while they're giving absolutely nothing back. This has been Jack Middleton reporting for Undercurrent.
The environment in Western Australia is under pressure, and one example of this are the massive fish kills that we have witnessed this year. Lake McLaren, member of the Greens for the South Metropolitan Region, gives us some clues for the Cockburn Sound massive fish kill. So, Lynn, tell us what has been going on in Cockburn Sound.
Well, there was a very devastating impact on the sound recently due to an algal bloom. 2,000 fish died. We think it was because of the algae which suffocated them. And it's had a devastating impact because it was at the time when snapper were spawning. And it affected not only snapper but all different species and fish large and small, because they all need to breathe. And so we're still measuring the impact on the Cockburn Sound due to that fish kill.
But why is this happening? Because of the rise in the water temperature?
It was a combination of factors. They call it like a perfect storm type activity. The temperatures on the surface were higher than normal for a longer period than usual, and also there was low oxygen in the sound at the time. So it was a terrible congruence of events that caused this devastating fish kill. It was a huge rally down in Rockingham from individuals who were very concerned about the health of the sound and water quality monitoring.
What led to that increase? Something that we humans have done?
Yeah. Well, this year is unseasonably warm. And when we say that, it is actually historically a hot year. We just had the results from temperatures in the UK, for example. I think were published just today that say that the UK has had its hottest year on record. We've had severe storms. There was a severe storm in Sydney on the weekend. And you don't normally have such extreme events. There was a tornado that touched down and caused devastation in an area.
So what would be the best way for the government to approach these issues, considering that in Western Australia has been very recurrent, unfortunately? There have been more fish kills in different areas.
Well, look, it's clear that the Barnett government in particular has cut their science program dramatically. We've had scientists, particularly in the Department of Parks and Wildlife, who've been slashed. The positions have been slashed. And this is very unusual because we have a premier who's supposed to be the Minister for Science. So what we've called for in relation directly to the Cockburn Sound impact is that we have increased monitoring of the sound, and a greater effort is spent on understanding the health of the sound and the well-being of the sound. More and more pressure is being put on the whole city to develop a new harbor in Cockburn Sound. Let's find a location where that harbor can be built and not impact fish populations and not impact water quality in the sound. Let's locate that harbor and initiate management strategies so that its impact is very low on the environment in that area. And we know that there are parts of the sound which do have less seagrass, and where the penguins, for example, might not, nest and or forage. So why not identify those areas as the ones to prioritize when you're talking about developing an outer harbor in Cockburn Sound? So we're basically calling for better controls on our developments around the sound, so that we can minimize the impact on that fishery and the impact on that environment. It's unique. We have a very precious Cockburn Sound where we've got a native penguin population. We've got a really strong and healthy fishery normally. We need to keep it that way for future generations so that we can deliver Cockburn Sound to future generations that we've enjoyed throughout the years.
Laura Noble reporting for Undercurrent.
The Perth Happy Choir, in conjunction with the Chinese community of Perth, wished the city of Perth a very special Christmas and a Happy New Year with their first public performance. Laura Novo takes us there.
The Christmas spirit has flooded our city, and this afternoon, with the help of Perth Happy Choir and the Chinese community, they will be spreading the love for Christmas. This afternoon here opposite to Maya in Murray Street, we have seen a very nice performance celebrating Christmas. What can you tell us about it?
This is a choir called Happy Choir. And then the organizers, MIU, and she invited the Deputy Lord Mayor, James Lee Mills, and myself to join them, and just to activate the city centre and to attract the people to come to the city, and then to create the atmosphere, and the people are happy and welcome them and wish everyone Merry Christmas.
月亮代表我的心，你爱我爱你有多深，我爱你有几分，我的情不移，我的爱不变。
Good afternoon, James. This afternoon you impressed us with your singing. How hard was learning those lyrics?
It wasn't easy at all, I can assure you, because my Chinese is not a language that I've learnt before. But I practiced and practiced, and hopefully it made a little bit of sense for those that were listening and understood.
Do you know what you were singing?
Yes, roughly. Something about I love you as much as the moon, and, you know, your eyes are as beautiful as the stars in the sky, that sort of thing.
That sounds very nice, very appropriate for Christmas.
Yes. Apparently it's a very famous Chinese song.
What was the part of the performance that you liked the most?
All of it, because what I saw is the Chinese community really wanting to be part of the broader Australian, Western Australian community, and they've put in a big effort to come here today and make this performance and entertain the people of Perth. And I have a lot of respect for the Chinese community and the effort that they've put in assimilating and actually contributing to our multicultural society.
Which one was the favourite part of the performance for you?
Our performance, obviously, and actually everything. We've been practiced a lot for in this month.
Will you be doing any other performance around the city for this Christmas?
We don't have any plan at this moment, but we will have more show later on, coming in later next year. Yeah.
Which part of the performance was the most challenging one?
The dancing parts. The first parts, we're really excited. Once we start, really excited. We just forgot, get all the stress out. Just concentrate on on my performance.
Did you enjoy this afternoon, seeing all the singing and dancing?
Yes, I did.
And what was your favourite part? Tell me.
Probably my mum's.
I see that you have some candy in your hands. That's what Santa gave you this afternoon?
Yes.
Are you expecting Santa giving you a lot of presents this year? Have you been very good this year?
Yes.
Perth Happy Choir, wish you a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year!
Laura Noble reporting for Undercurrent from Murray Street.
That brings us to the last episode of Undercurrent for 2015. I'm Lucy Nicol, and I do hope that you've enjoyed the program. Undercurrent will be back in the new year 2016. Happy holidays.